It's virtually 8:30, so welcome everybody. So we are now in business, and I want to just say, I got the message yesterday. I just want to know if Carol is on the call to just congratulate her on her 8 years of loyal service to the organization. And I met Carol back when she was working for Steve Saland many years ago, and shared a couple of dinners at Kozel's where I got to know her. And I'm very happy to have been able to work with her the last few years. So I wish Carol all the best.
Thank you. I'll know she will appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Mike, thank you. Okay, so we have a first item are the minutes from the January 20th meeting. If you've looked them over, I'll take a motion to accept.
Motion to accept from Jim LePen.
Okay.
Seconded, Ken Leggett.
Very good. Thank you. All right. And okay, so the first item of the slate of directors.
Gary, why don't we approve them?
For the annual, they're all set, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah, Gary, why don't we approve the minutes?
Yeah. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes.
Yeah, well, you've got the motion and the second.
We got it.
Yeah.
Done.
Just
All
had
in
a vote.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
All right.
All right. All right. For the next item of the slated directors and the terms of service, I assume we're talking about the group 2 trustees whose terms are up this year. We have six whose terms are up. David, Derek, Russ, Sarah, Ruth, and myself. So I'll take a motion to accept them as the slate for the election.
I have a question, if I may.
Okay.
I thought we were going to drop off Russ Bartolotta
Yeah.
for non-attendance.
Right.
Yep. Well, I haven't contacted him. I don't know if Mike or Dave have or had any contact with him. Yeah, I can't hear Dave. You're muted, Dave.
I have not, but I will if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we need to have a conversation.
Okay.
Well, I object to that. We've had so many conversations with him.
Yeah.
It happens every year, and we want him again. We need members that are going to contribute.
No, my point is, you're calling him to tell him he's no longer up for re-election. That's what.
Thank him for his service.
Exactly. Yeah, I think everyone needs a face-to-face or at least a phone call to be replaced. So I agree with you completely, Sarah.
I agree with you as well.
Okay, so we have the slate.
Question, just
Yes, Jeff.
again,
Yeah.
not an objection to a
Yeah.
particular person, but just could we also check to see if Derek wants to continue?
Yes, I think we should. And my question was, I think everyone on this list needs to have a conversation.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to have it, or Dave or Mike, if you want to do it, the honors. And we ought to do it fairly soon, because if they're not, then we need to think about a replacement slate, someone to replace them on the slate. So how would you like to handle it, Dave?
Boy, I mean, I agree with you. Their lack of attendance is a problem. Russ, beyond accepting. But we have vacancies now. It's not like we have people banging down our door to get on this board. Why don't we address filling the vacancies we have before we start pushing people out? That's my take on it. I agree that they're not active, and it'd be nice to have them replaced with people who are active, but let's work on the replacement part before we fire ourselves off.
If we have a conversation with Derek, because I think he does contribute
Yes,
when he can, and just see if we can make it easier for him or something. I think a
Well,
conversation.
I did speak to him maybe a month ago, and then immediately following that, he was present at our board meeting.
Okay,
great.
So why don't we just see how that goes?
okay.
All right.
Yeah, but I think Russ is in a different position from any of the others in the group.
He is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I agree with that fully.
Yeah, I'll talk to Russ.
no-
I'll tell him he's off.
Okay.
And then just a quick question, mostly for Lisa, on that group one, Lisa, for the 2023 expiration. Is there some reason those terms began in October as opposed to May?
That was because we elected them on an annual meeting. It'll go back to May. I just made a note of it, so if somebody had a question, we remembered that we had a late annual meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Move along.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to accept the slate minus Russell Barlotta.
okay. Do I have a
Seconded.
second? Jim?
Second, Ken Leggett.
All-
Ken,
all-
like,
Ken, all right. All in favor?
aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Let's go over to the compliance calendar, which is distributed there. Any discussion on the calendar? We need to approve that today.
I'll make a motion. We approve the calendar. Ken Leggett.
And okay,
Sterling,
Second,
Second.
Jim Ken.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, the next item is something that we've been working on for a while, which is to put in writing the steps to be followed in recruiting and selecting board members. It's a handout, 7 steps. The idea here is to, I guess, remind everyone on board that if they have a candidate in mind of how to pursue that. And so the steps are fairly common sense in terms of having the, empowering the current board to propose additional people for board members should a vacancy arise. And I also suspect to constantly have somebody in mind, even when there's not a vacancy, who would be a potential replacement should a vacancy occur, which can frankly occur at any time, as we know, with people's lives change. So those steps are laid out in front of you. And the only thing I would add is I thought about this later. We might, and maybe this exists, but I'm not aware of it. When we are recruiting folks for the board, do we have a standard kit, like a recruitment kit, which, for example, contains the 4 pillars or an annual report or whatever you'd like to? How do you present the organization? I know when I was recruited by Tony Jones, we had a conversation. We covered all of this, but not everybody does that kind of recruiting. They want to rely more on written material that people can take home and look at it. So
We have,
yeah.
Gary, we
Yeah.
have put things like that together on an ad hoc basis, but we can put together something and circulate it to the committee quickly. That's a bunch that includes links that, doesn't overwhelm someone, but would give them a good path to explore what the requirements are and what's involved.
Yeah, I think
Carol has a lot of that material. It put some things together before, so.
We do have a board orientation manual that's online. That may scare people away at the first introduction, but we'll regroup, and that would be easy to put together.
Yeah, very good, because I think that's important. So on the procedure, to any other discussion? Anyone? If not, I'll ask for a vote to approve it. It's
So moved.
a new procedure for us. Dave, thank you. Do I have a second?
Sterling.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, number 5, the candidate discussion. We had been talking about, at the last meeting about someone that Jim Calvin had passed a resume to me, and I forwarded that, Sally Stark. And also, I think, Sarah, you circulated a resume, or at least the name of someone that you had mentioned at the last meeting.
Right.
Did that resume get circulated around to all the board members, or at least this committee?
Yes. Is
Did
that,
it?
the person's name is Otey, O-T-E-Y?
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Anita.
that's circulated.
Anita Ote, okay. I guess the question is, following this new procedure would be to have the proposer of who has brought it to our attention, their candidacy, to follow up and follow the procedure. And with the new materials we can put together, you could have a conversation with each of them, and and be prepared to move it forward should we want to do so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in here for a minute because
Sure.
being on the police reform panel now, and
Yeah.
we're constantly looking at social justice, and we are certainly a very white board and have been, and we are always trying for diversity, and it's very hard to get candidates. We have a lot of diversity of types of businesses and all of that, but it's always very hard to get candidates. And often the good candidates are so overwhelmed by being on boards already that they can't take on any more work. Now, in putting together a list for the police reform panel, we gathered together a lot of names of people of color in the community. And I started on a list last night, and I'm sorry, I just got overwhelmed, but I was amazed at how many names we actually came up with. And I just think I don't want us to be criticized going forward. We put another white person, speaking plainly, another white person on the board. And we go to meetings. Mike and I have been at meetings, and people stand up and say, well, where's your diversity? And we say, okay, please give us some names. Do we ever get any names of anybody? No. But I now have a pretty good list of names. And I would like us to look at that first to see if we can, one or even two people. So it's not like a token person. Let's get some real diversity here, at least look at the field that's out there before we make any decisions, even if we don't get it for, just take our time to do that thoughtfully and not jump into just who we have.
Sarah, if you can get that to us, Lisa and I can put it in a format to get it to Gary, so we can get it out to the committee.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, very good. Very good. And Dave, did you put the Eric Mortensen note out yesterday? You want to talk about him? Dave, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Eric sent me a text message on my phone that he was going to resign. And I copied the contents of that and put it into an email to everyone. He also has somebody he'd like to recommend. So I was going to have him do that recommendation to us before he resigns, or at the same time, if that's acceptable. And then we can look at that candidate. I don't know who it is. It's a female. She owns 2 businesses in Columbia County. One is in Hudson. I'm not looking at the email right now, so I don't remember her name. But if that's okay, that's what we'll do. We don't have his letter yet.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea. Dave, why is Eric stepping down? Do you know?
Yeah, he was appointed to be the town justice in his town.
Gotcha.
And he's finding out that that's taking way more time than he anticipated. And he just doesn't have the time.
Prime is up.
Yeah. Okay.
So Gary, are we then not going to proceed to talk about Anita Otey? Is that the proposal?
Well, I would defer to Sarah on this, since she surfaced her name. Sarah, what is your wish?
You're muted, Sarah.
Sorry.
Take it after me.
Oh my gosh, every meeting, you're muted, you're muted. Okay, so we have one more slot then.
No, Sarah, were you recommending we hold off on Anita Otey and gather a larger list? Was that your point?
I would like to put, yeah, and remind all the board members this is the time and get their people in right now. And I'll circulate what I have.
With Eric Mortensen, we have what, 3 vacancies? Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Lisa,
or 2.
At least 2. We were, yeah, I
Eric
think.
and Russ.
Right.
I thought we were down to 1 and then Eric makes 2, but we can double check that.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
We have 2 or 3.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Can
Russell Barlotta would make.
Right, he'd make the 3rd.
That
Third.
made the 3rd.
Well, it's Russ, Eric, and where's the other?
We had a vacancy when Dr. Stuttmeyer,
Oh, right,
Resign.
okay, okay,
Right.
so we got 3.
Yeah.
So I think the goal would be to find at least 5 qualified people, so we have a good choice.
Yeah. I mean, we can pursue the Sally Stark, who has been, as I recall, Martha has had some experience with her and was impressed, was my impression from their work in factoring. And then you're going to provide us with some more names, Sarah, to work from.
Will do.
Very good. All
Gary,
right.
Gary,
Yes,
Jim
sir.
LePen, if I may, on the Sally Stark candidacy, her name came, I guess Jim Calvin's not on.
I don't know.
Okay, but that was, he inserted her name. He said he didn't know her, but it was a recommendation.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know her, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you why I think, and you can challenge my reasoning, we
Yeah.
ought not to proceed.
Okay.
She's in the town of Hillsdale.
Yeah.
Which is one of our more active towns. We have 10 committees of the town composed on average of 7 volunteers. We have an active library, Friends of Library, and now a very active park committee. She appears no place. And
Okay.
I suppose that's my personal bias. I see no civic engagement. And so I think if we're creating a list, I would not put her at the top.
Okay. All right. Jim, would you have a conversation with the person who, Jim Calvin, about this?
Yeah, he mentioned, we didn't have a conversation. He said he didn't know her.
Jim's on the call. Jim's
Jim's on.
here.
Oh, he is. I'm sorry. I didn't see him. I asked whether he was. I didn't mean to jump ahead. He should have led with this. So I listened. Sorry.
Jim, do you want to jump in on this?
You're muted.
Sorry. I thought I asked whether he was on. I hadn't realized.
Jim, you're muted.
Okay.
Still can't hear you.
Yeah. Well, Jim, let's leave it this way. Have a conversation with Jim about about the candidacy, and let him know what your feeling is. Share that with him since he surfaced the name. Okay.
Right.
All
Although
right.
I don't think he knew her. Okay, fine.
Very good. Just confirm that. That will be helpful.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then we're finished with that. Let's go to the committee appointments. And Mike, you put out something yesterday for, I guess this was for Colin. Let me see, it says.
we had discussed at a
Vacancies,
previous
yeah.
meeting, the fact, Jim LePen had raised the fact that our 2 new, at that point, board members had not been assigned or agreed to serve on committees.
Right,
I reached out to both Eric and Colin, and then Dave gave me the news about Eric becoming a judge.
Right.
So when I spoke to Lisa and I reviewed the committee list, and based on the fact that Seth wanted to roll off finance because of the commitment that the loan committee entails, and felt his skills would be better utilized by the loan committee. We have an opening on finance, and with Colin being a business person, we thought that could be a possibility. And the other would be the loan committee. So as you see, I sent him yesterday a copy of the other members of the committee, the charter, and the scheduled of 2021 meeting dates, and expect to have a follow-up call with him with respect to those committees. I felt that Lisa and I looked at it, and obviously, the other available committees were either fully slotted, or we felt that the loan committee or the finance committee would be his best experience as a new member.
Okay.
So I expect to hear back from him, and then as soon as we do, I'm sensitive to the fact that the loan committee meetings are 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where the finance committee is at 8:30 in the morning, and I know in the type of business he's in, it's probably difficult to lock in a midday call, but I'll leave that to get his feedback before I report back.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then we go to term limits, the discussion we have on term limits.
I think what we looked at was, Andy and I reviewed this.
Yeah.
And when we redid the bylaws, we started everyone as if they had never been a board member, just because of the number of years people had served, so everyone started out fresh, as I recall, so that I think the concern that we had about immediate term limits was not as imminent as we had thought. And I think Lisa and Andy, did you have any?
Yeah, I would just say, I would just say, generally, if you look at best practices, the idea behind having term limits is to, ensure that you have rollover in the board, that you have fresh ideas. The other principle that's often talked about is if you have a board member that isn't pulling their weight, it allows transitions to occur without difficult conversations taking place.
Yeah.
What we have right now is we have our term limit maximum is 6 years, pursuant to staggered terms. Certainly, there are organizations that don't have term limits. Ultimately, that's a decision for the board of directors. I don't think having 6 years as the maximum time is a short period. A lot of organizations may have something that's a little shorter. I think we're balancing what we're talking about today, right? Looking to have qualified people and having a relatively small county population wise, and wanting to make sure that we have quality people, and kind of juxtaposing that to the idea of having people on for 20 years. However, if the board finds that, based on what we're finding in terms of recruitment, that getting people to get on the board is going to be a difficulty in maintaining quorums and all of that, then, you may want to consider some alternative. That's just the general background, I think, to have the discussion.
Yeah, I think Dave and I are the longest, and we have been on since the big transition before Mike came on. And I do think the institutional knowledge is valuable, but I like the 6 year going forward, not to have such long terms. And I don't know, I'm on my high horse these days, but I feel like there's a kind of a new progressive element in Columbia County. And I want to make sure that everything we're doing, which I think we've been very careful at, that I don't want to be seen as us as a bunch of dinosaurs on the board, which I don't think we are right now. So I would say going forward, let's keep the term limits that we have here.
I think
Is it 6 or first 3-year term?
it's 6, and I think that the bylaws provide that the officers can be elected outside of the term limits. And so, but I think a 6-year term, you can always go off and come back. I'm on a couple of boards where it's 2, 3, 6-year terms, and then there's an associate board. It's not really a doesn't really work in this type organization. But then, you're still engaged kind of as an advisor. And then if the full board wants you to come back and come back, gives the full board a chance to see what it was like without you. And also see if there are other people who are interested. But I do think, the size of the board, we discussed it at the time we redid the bylaws. The 3 ex officio participating members seems to work well. The IDA chair, the representative of the Board of Supervisors, and the college president. And I think that I wouldn't want to get, I'd like to see the 3 seats filled going through a process as all of you have outlined. And I think it's inevitable that at any one point in time, you're going to have 1 or 2 vacancies. But if this process that you're working on is set up to have a pool of people to consider, I think when Tony worked on refurbishing or reestablishing the board, it was really, we did 1 person at a time. And, we do it annually with a pool and have identified, I think the step ahead of what you approved this morning as a policy is for the board member interested in proposing someone to find out if they're interested. And, once you do that, I think that, and explain to them that, it is a somewhat, I don't want to use the word competitive process, but just because I ask you and you're interested, it's not guaranteed or necessarily that you'll be selected.
I wonder if we're not ultimately arguing for a more vigorous recruitment process. I think, because we started, at the time we redid the bylaws, we started terms over again. Had we not done that, the 3 most experienced board members would be rotating off in a couple of months, projecting a year ahead. There are 3 more who've reached that 6-year period. We have our normal resignations. We're going to lose 40% of the board in the next, 12 months.
Yeah, there is that option of, Mike and I have talked about, is, I was talking about it for me, if I stay on as an officer, then my slot would be available for somebody else to get more new people on the board. But it looks like with 3 vacancies, we're not quite to that step yet.
Yeah, I think maybe we have to be more aggressive, more vigorous on our board recruitment.
Do we need a subcommittee of this committee? I mean, I'm willing to help at this point in my spare time.
Certainly, Sarah, you seem to have compiled a list, which would be a great starting point.
Yeah.
Well, and I do think that, we haven't approached it this way before. It was really, it was reactionary to because once Tony went through the process of filling all the seats, it became a process of replacing members one at a time. But I think what you're discussing, Jim, and what you're referencing, Sarah, I think putting a pool together where, again, courting some people over time, beginning with the kit that you've discussed, will put us in a position where people may say no initially because they don't know much about it, but the more they learn about it, they may be interested. So that there may be a cultivation period that, if you come to someone and say, are you interested in doing this? And they've got a lot on their plate that day, they may just say no, and then you never go back to them. So I think you're leading to a good process, and a quick Google came up with 5 pages of board recruitment kit samples while we were talking. And I think alerting and we do have a list of board members from the top 10 not-for-profits in the county. But again, those are the folks that either everyone was looking to
Right.
put on their board or are already committed. And I think what some of you are suggesting is a broader brush or a broader reach into the towns. And, you know, with our grant application with Pattern for Progress for the Town Economic Development Support Initiative, yeah, I think you know, one of the issues in diversity here also should be not only should be geography.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that we're you know, not Sarah, I won't say this, we're not Hudson centric. No.
I know I'm Hudson centric. I think also Martha and Lauren can keep their eye out because they're seeing the up and coming entrepreneurs come in.
Well, certainly with some of the projects that we've worked on, you know, both in the towns through the grant program with Berkshire Taconic and the projects in the city, you know, there is even in the short 5 years, there's been a complete evolution of business people. You know, I mean, there's certainly the 200 stalwarts who have been here with successful businesses for years, but you know, and particularly Martha sees it in the loan clients, and you know, I don't think it hurts at some point to have a startup entrepreneur on the board. You know, as considering that's, you know, one of the major segments of our portfolio. But this is good. Why don't Sarah, if you can get me those names, if others have
Okay.
insight, I can get material back to Gary and he can present it at our next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, number 8 on our list is the Governance Committee Evaluation Summary. I guess this was a compilation of where we think we are. We need to have a vote to accept this. Is there any discussion before we have a vote, go to a vote? If not, I'll take a motion to accept.
I don't see anything startling. I would make that motion.
Okay, Dave, thank you.
Second, Jim.
Second. Jim? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Harry, very good. Is there other business to come for us today?
I encourage you all to sign up for the 10 o'clock webinar tomorrow with Commissioner Rosemary Poole of the Office of Children and Family Services. The two, Columbia and Green Chamber and CEDC and Greene County Economic Development are doing our annual host of the governor's budget presentation.
Yeah.
God, it's virtual.
Right, can you circulate the information?
Yeah, did you send that around?
Yeah, yep. We'll make sure. I know sometimes when we use the MailChimp, it goes even to my spam. I can't get the rule to send it into my inbox, but we will do that now.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Before, I also want to just say a few words about the electric trail that's opened in the county over the last few months. I've had the good fortune of walking most of it with my wife in sections. And it's a fantastic resource. And I can see this as real economic development potential. Businesses that are located along the trail, like some mascots here in Kinderhook, they're going to see a lot more traffic. I think it's a wonderful. I know, Mike, that you're in touch with the people in Albany that really were behind this, and it's got a tremendous. It's a tremendous asset. That's going to be. It's busy. It's a wonderful way to connect the villages. There are parts of this county. My wife and I walked from our home in Kinrook Village all the way to Stuyvesant Falls, and back. It's about a 5-mile round trip. It's fantastic. I expect to see Andy out there on your bike one of these days. It's bikers, and the villages are trying to figure out how to maximize the benefit of having a lot of new people. I'm seeing people from Rensselaer County coming down here that wouldn't be here otherwise. And Mike, just to pass it along to people that you've dealt with, it's a wonderful asset. It's well done, safe, and a really terrific way to bring these communities together.
Carol and Ileana had included a piece about the opening when the governor announced it, I think last month.
Yep.
We've been working with the Friends of the Electric Trail as well as Parks and Trails, which is the statewide group. And we're going to be doing some press and media on the B&A trail study that we did with the Columbia Land Conservancy next month, as we figured we'd release it as we got into spring rather than in the dead of winter. So, but you know, the tourism aspect, the recreational aspect of our economy, you know, and along with the historic and the arts and cultural side of it is what really makes the quality of life for the people who live here, but the attraction to those who visit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's my little plug for the electric trail. Jim.
An unrelated inquiry. I just wondered how people are doing with vaccinations.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've had both of mine down at the college. I got my second one last week, and aside from a day of extreme fatigue, I didn't have any other symptoms.
And
So good luck.
But the college and the Department of Health, those between the two of them, I think they've been spectacular.
And I would second them. Wendy and I have told people you couldn't get better care than we got at the college and the health department.
They did a great job.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm on those committees, all my committees. Yes, the Department of Health's incredible. And the governor changes his mind every other day, and they're stuck with, okay, how do we roll this one out? And they have to start all over again. But yeah, I got my second shot too and did well.
And our numbers are down. You know, we for 4 weeks, Columbia County had the highest raw number and percentage in the 8-county region. I still participate every week with Matt Morrell on the call with the governor's office. And the big issue here is they've been getting 300 doses a week, which, you know, barely.
200 we got this week.
How many?
200.
200.
This
Yeah.
week, we could do so much more.
Yeah.
And 1/3 of the county has comorbidities, which I
Right.
can pronounce. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And there was an article in this morning's Times-Union that Albany and Binghamton, for some reason, is having the greatest difficulty, and they're finding more people from those two regions in other areas using up the shots. I went to Utica myself, and people are going to Plattsburgh and Canton, Potsdam. Take the 2 hour and a half to 3 hour drive to get it. But Pat Fahey and John McDonald are looking into, the assembly members are trying to figure out, why are these statistics showing that people in this region are having to go out of the region more than any other place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they're have more ingenuity and entrepreneurship, but it does make sense.
We've got all the anti-vaxxers. Maybe they're all living in the far country.
Summer camps will open soon, Sarah. Thank you all.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Anything else before we say goodnight? If not,
Motion for adjournment.
a motion to adjourn by Ken.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Second, Sarah, all in favor?
Aye, aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
everybody.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.